Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
Hello, and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Baranowski-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by David Chau, the founder of InsideOptions and general partner of SPX Program Fund. So welcome, David. By now, I'm sure most people have heard of David Chau, also known as Captain Condor and InsideOptions. But today, I want to get to know you, David, as a person, the person behind the massive success. So I'll be asking you some personal questions, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. So regarding your early life and background, can you tell us a little bit about what your early years, like what was your childhood like? Where'd you grow up and how'd your environment shape who you are today?
Well, sure, we can start with that. Well, I have two sisters and a brother. I was actually the only one that was born here in
Oh,
America.
wow. Wow.
So my background is I'm half Vietnamese and I'm half Chinese.
Okay.
So big part of my family was that, they kind of came here from Vietnam, from the
Wow.
war. And so although I wasn't there to kind of experience all that, a big part of my life was kind of experiencing stories heard from them. Really.
Right.
So of course, fortunately, I s- I grew up, with my parents. Like I
Right.
had a had a mother, had a father, and I think they did a really good job with taking care of me and uh I guess building good values and making the
Right.
person who I am. Growing up, I guess like I just did what everybody else did. Didn't do anything crazy, didn't go
Right.
into any private schools, it's all public schools.
Right.
Um but was never raised with like handouts. So
Right.
I never asked for money from my parents. I never, had cool things that other people had, and we were just like, kind of below that poverty line.
Right.
So
Wow.
we never really had money, and so growing up, I've always wanted to kind of change that.
Right.
And so that was kind of my big motivation, and that became a sport for me as well.
Wow. Yeah, I
So
love this story, like the rags to riches. But I mean, it's amazing because life doesn't come in a manual, and people go with the flow, and you try to, I always say, like even as a parent myself, I'm like, I can't say if I did a great job or not. It's like I just did what I could with what I had, and you hope that, you succeeded. And sometimes having that little bit of a struggle, like you say, motivated you to do better than what they had, not in a bad way, but to just really succeed. Like sometimes having, bad things, it almost motivates you, 10 times more as opposed to someone who says, do the routine, go to school, get a job, blah, blah, blah. You actually saw the vision and did it. So I think that's amazing.
yeah, I
Were you the
think
middle or the first, or where were you in the family chain?
I was the last. So
Oh, the
the
baby. Nice.
youngest. All my sisters and brothers are like way older than me. They're like probably like 14, 15 years older
Wow.
than me. But
Wow.
uh,
That's awesome
uh
though.
yeah, I guess the other person that's pretty successful in my family is my sister because she got like she's a in the medical field. She's a doctor now, and
Oh,
she had like
awesome.
the full ride scholarships and all that stuff. And
Wow.
I guess like growing up, like I didn't really have like any bad experiences per se, but I just lived through everybody's
Right.
stories. And so those stories kind of motivated me because
It's
like,
awesome.
well, how bad could it be? Because obviously they've had it worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, and it is true when you're in a bad situation, it's kind of like, you have nothing to lose, but look, to move forward and try to do better, because like you say, how much worse could it get?
and I guess that's kind of how it like translated over to my trading years later
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Because trading's a business, and with any business, it's always risky,
Right.
right? Per se, and risk is always relative. And
Yeah.
I guess in my family was always like entrepreneurs. Like
Right.
my mom had like chemical companies in Vietnam before, she lost all that.
Wow.
My dad was in the military. He was in the war
Wow.
in the South uh, Vietnamese War, and um, he actually, I mean, he like he lost he lost an eye from combat. So
Aw.
And so I think just kind of hearing stories like that and
Right.
I was able to kind of translate that over to trading.
Right. So he pushed forward, which is a good trait, good ambition.
Yeah.
So
So,
tell us, what was the most important lesson that you learned from your parents or family? Like, how'd your family's values and experiences influence your career path?
well, I guess ultimately they, I guess they always wanted the best for me, but they
Mm,
never forced me to be who I didn't want to be.
right.
Just because like I think I was pretty self-sufficient then
Right.
and I remember, you know, I guess overhearing like my parents are like, well, he makes his own money. He can make
Yeah.
decisions for himself.
Right.
So
That's great. Because I know some people who, say they're in the medical field, it's mom and dad are doctors and they're insisting the kids have to be doctors and whatnot. And it's not really their passion. So that's awesome that they gave you the freedom to do what was, I guess, your vision.
yeah, I think it's pretty stereotypical for like
Yeah.
Asian parents to kind of instill like, I guess like these kind of career goals. And I guess like that wouldn't have worked for me anyways because I didn't really do good in school anyways. So
We'll hear all about that. So now tell us, were there any key experiences or challenges during your school years that set you on the path to where you are now?
well the most notable one was that I don't really discuss is like I think um I've always I've almost got expelled from middle school because and the reason why that happened was because we were doing like I guess extra credit or whatever from a workbook
Right.
and then my I thought I was pretty bright at the time so I ended up buying like a teacher's edition book that had all the answers. So
Yeah, I guess they frown upon
at the,
that. Yeah.
at the time I was like I thought that was pretty smart, but then they're just kind of wondering like, hey, how's this guy getting like all these extra credit? He's like a 2000%
Wow.
score or whatever, but
You were
um,
thinking outside the box already.
yeah,
See?
and I guess that kind of like translates over to trading too. So I guess like a lot of things like in early years, if I were to kind of think about it, would always build characteristics and things like that to translate over to the
Right.
stock market.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Now, I guess like regarding career beginnings and early struggles, before diving into options trading, what other jobs or ventures did you pursue?
Well, professionally, I've never had like a real job before, just because I think I've tried submitting like different things, but just
Right.
never got them. The closest thing I've had was like working at like my cousin's restaurant and I was busting tables back then. I was like maybe in middle school then and they only paid me like $20 uh a, a weekend. So
Wow.
and I was there for like I don't know like 18 hours, like sometimes 18 hours, like
Wow.
6 in the
Wow.
morning to like midnight or even longer. So but
Wow.
I mean that was kind of good in a sense where I was working in a way where I wasn't counting dollars.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and that kind of also like transitioned into my professional career because
Right.
I worked without I guess looking at the dollar amount. So
Mhm. Yeah, I guess it, explains structure, but sometimes I always say you need the good with the bad. So you got to see what the other side could be and how you want to not be in that position. So what could I do to make that happen?
yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, what was one of the biggest struggles early in your career and how'd you overcome it?
Well, because I didn't have like a professional career, I'd always have to think outside the box.
Right.
So I think and I guess like part of it's also being set up in a way where you are um you're set up for good things to happen. Like
Mhm.
I think in college at that time, I was trading and I was meeting a lot of people and a lot of people introduced me to like different ideas and
Right.
I was an early like crypto investor back in like 2023, 2024 and ended up building like a mining farm with a friend and we kind of used his dorm room because we were getting like free electricity. So while everybody, that everybody I knew was like working, getting like minimum wage and stuff
Mhm.
like that, we were just kind of chilling and we weren't really working,
That
but
was awesome though.
we're making significant amount of money from like all
Right.
this mining and all these like different activities. And at the time, it was like I kind of understood that sometimes you have to do what other people don't to make what
Right.
others won't.
Yeah,
Because if you keep doing
100%.
things that are average, you're just gonna get average results.
Right. I mean, right there just proves your entrepreneurship and your ambitious goals to think outside the box. I think it's amazing because it is true. When people do something amazing and something great, you'll always have people say, well, God, why didn't I think of that? Someone had to think of it. And someone, obviously did. Like everybody's going to school with a plan to be a doctor, be a lawyer, whatnot. And you're looking around saying, okay, what's the hottest thing right now? What's making everybody money? Crypto. How can I get into that? So you're thinking outside the box and doing exactly what everybody now would say, wow, why didn't I think of doing that? I think that's pretty
Problem
cool.
was that I mean the problem at the time was that it's not like repeatable, right? It's not
Yeah,
like something I can turn back time and do it over and over again.
right,
And that kind of, I mean, that did propel me into different opportunities that
right,
also weren't like repeatable. Like for example, I built up a significant amount of cash in order to trade and try all these different things. And I needed to try all these different things because I
right.
knew that, hey, this might be a one-time shot kind of thing. This, you just have to take a chance. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that kind of allowed me to branch into building like different businesses. And
Mhm.
at the time, like I dropped out of school like 2 years in, and
Right,
I didn't really have like a plan. I was actually really concerned, because I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, like, because I
mhm,
like to plan like 10 years in advance, but I mean, I ended up joining. I guess I used a bit of critical thinking and
right,
thought about, hey, like, where do affluent people hang out? What do
right,
people do? What are they doing in order to live the life they're doing?
right,
So I joined like different angel networks, like angel investing networks, met a lot of
right.
cool people, and eventually, was able to invest into a portfolio company that exited for like 40x in like a
Wow.
year, which is like unheard of, which is, I guess, cool too. And I guess like, what they say, like once it's luck, twice it's skill. So
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. And again, most people would be afraid to venture into something like that. Like a lot of people are, have the fear of the unknown. They don't want to take a chance. And it's like we always use the term like go big or go home. And you're never going to know till you try. What's the worst that'll happen? It didn't work out. Okay, you took a chance, and it's actually, it I guess it does show your kind of critical thinking and just the ambition that you have to like get ahead, and I it's obviously working for you, which I think is amazing.
even at that time, like making like I kind of understood that, making lump sums of money isn't as valuable as something that's a bit more sustainable. And so that's kind of like what I wanted to find something that's going to be a bit more predictable and more
Right.
reliable. So
At such a young
e-
age
even
too,
with
though.
even with like starting like businesses, like you're always thinking about like what if something happens, like and
Yeah.
COVID happened and all that stuff happened.
Yeah.
It's just like it gets kind of discouraging, right?
Yeah.
Because you always know that, hey, there could be a timeline for
Yeah.
something. Even like big box like businesses like Toys R Us,
Right.
like Blockbuster, and like just all in general, like.
Right.
And so that's why I kind of gravitated to, just really focusing on options and building
Mhm.
this kind of business because the market's always going to be around, and
Right.
um I'm willing to do what do whatever is necessary to make this business work because like it checks all the boxes that I need as an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
It's predictable and it scales and I don't have to spend a lot of time really. So
Yeah. Yeah. Your method, we'll get to that. I think it's amazing, because you're obviously super successful. And like you said, you've did the trial and error. You found what works and, you don't have to invest. But, we'll talk about that. But like just going back, well, say for an example, did you ever face a rock bottom moment that made you question your future? And how'd you push through it at the time? Like things like that will led you to where you are today.
well, I guess I guess not necessarily a rock bottom kind of
Mhm.
thing, but I think a lot of the investments I took were a bit longer term in a sense
Mhm.
where I had to be in a situation where it might not be as liquid,
Right.
because sometimes like when you invest into like VC funds and like deals, it could take like, 10 years. I'm actually in a
Right.
VC deal right now and at the time I'm like, dude, I kind of wished I had that money to do other things, but I mean, I'm always in the battle with like where can I deploy money to grow my net worth.
Right.
So it's that's not easy. So
Yeah. No, but it's true. You never know. I mean, some people, life doesn't have a timeline, doesn't have a book. So, some people who now in hindsight wish they would have invested way sooner. And you have people who invested way sooner and, like you said, invested in a company that just went belly up, so you never know and taking the chances, but you've done all the research and figured out what works. And I think that's amazing. So now tell us about discovering trading and growth. How did you first discover option trading and what drew you to it? Like, was there a turning point when you knew that you were on the right path to trading?
Well, I guess my entire life, I'm always looking at some like looking at opportunities, like looking
Right.
for. I'm always looking for something. Like if I can't sleep at night, not knowing what to do. Um, I opened up my first brokerage account when I was like 18. I can't remember why, but like I think I was like looking at all the most successful people in the world, like I don't know, Warren Buffett or like Steve Jobs or whatever, and
Right,
I saw that there was a correlation, like they all like had equity, all
right,
had securities, right? Like it could be like IPOs, it could have been like things like that, and as an entrepreneur, like I wanted to be in the situation, like I want to be in a position where they are, and
right,
I think I watched like some videos. It was like just like TikTok or something like that. But it was like Jeff Bezos talking about how you always have to build your company in I guess, within the path of a trend
right.
instead of chasing trends. Because I think, he worked in a quant fund and he
Okay,
saw that the trend for ecom was exploding. So he built his company within that trend. So instead of chasing that trend.
right,
And so that's kind of what I did in a sense where I'm looking for things to get into where it's trending up or
right,
at least where the trend is going. And especially like with options trading, it didn't take off until like it's been around for a long time, but I feel like it didn't take off until like COVID time because that's like when some of the largest amounts of like retail trading started to sign up
right.
and do all these things. And I think I set up myself. I think I did a good job setting myself up to, I guess, be within that trend.
You definitely couldn't ask for anything more. But again, that was you having the vision, looking out instead of, other people going with the flow, and I think that's part of your journey, which is awesome. So now tell us, what's been the most surprising part of your journey for a newcomer to a leader in the trading world?
I guess I never wanted to be a leader in that sense. I I just do what I think is right.
Right,
And I do it in a sense where I have to put in 100% of my effort
right.
because I want to do things the best. And
Perfectionist, nothing wrong with that.
just perfectionist and just
Yeah.
that's all. That's all I really focus on.
No, but it's awesome. And most people will look up to that, and a lot of people, I mean, we could see it already. A lot of people want to learn from you because, you're not some kind of cocky person who's just saying, yeah, that's right. I know what I'm doing. And you're passionate about what you do. You've, put in a lot of work to get there and you have that mentality, but I want to give back to people. You can keep the secret to yourself and be fine, but you want to give back to people and teach them how to do what it took you years to figure out how to do. And I think, people acknowledge that and they respect that.
Yeah.
So tell us, what are some of the key lessons of failure that you learned during the early years in trading?
Well, the best lesson is not to fail. So if you fail too many times, you're not. Actually, a lot of people say that you should fail as much as you can, but I think otherwise. Like I think that you only have a certain amount of capacity that you can fail because you only have a limited amount of time that you have,
Right.
on this earth. So
Yeah.
you can't fail like 1,000 times. I guess you can if that's like your life habits. But
No, but I
you,
think it's true. I mean, especially if you have somebody mentoring you and guiding you, nobody wants to fail. I mean, I get it. You fail a couple times and you learn a lesson, but if you can avoid doing that, I think everybody would love to take that route instead. Learn from your mistakes.
yeah, learn from your mistakes or learn from other people's mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. So now tell us for building Inside Options and Impact. Can you describe the vision behind Inside Options and how it all started?
Well, inside options, I never really wanted to start it. There's a lot of things I just didn't want to do. Like, but I at the same time, like at that time, a lot of people were asking me what to do. they saw that I got into crypto early, I got into different things early, and they saw that I had an eye for like, I guess, what to do, and
Right.
so and they wanted to be able to do things that I were doing, and just things that were people repeatable at the time.
Right.
And so, like I saw that there was an opportunity for myself to become a better trader, become a better analyst by teaching
Mm.
other people. Because we host a group on the Slack app, and the Slack has, when I started, it became my journal, reading journal, essentially. And I essentially just invited people to kind of join me
Right.
and I guess just look at my journal and my journey, and that kind of took off. We have a lot of people that have been with me since 2020, since I started the group,
Wow.
but I've also had a lot of people that have been following me since crypto ages, and even when I was in like middle school, and like I had old friends and stuff like that. And they're like, well, they kind of saw that in me. I was like,
Right. They
okay, I
see the
don't know if that was like,
potential. Yeah.
I don't know if that was an insult or a compliment, but
No, I mean, they always say if no one's looking at you, you're doing something wrong. So it's a good thing.
but just in general, just wanted to find ways to scale. And at the
Right.
same time, like I always have like feeling of like impending doom. And that was a quote I had in the Wall Street Journal. And that's because like I've started a lot of things, and they just didn't last, or it was just like a moment in time
Right.
that wasn't repeatable.
Right.
So even though you have something that might be working, it's always like really good to kind of not be complacent and just continue just building and growing.
Right. Yeah, because like you said, with COVID, what's here today could be gone tomorrow. So it's
Yeah.
actually really inspiring that you found something that, like you say, the stock market's not going anywhere. Companies could come today, go tomorrow, but you found something and not necessarily investing in a particular company that could go belly up tomorrow. You found something that, is going to keep moving. So I think, that's why people follow you because they're like, this man's onto something.
A lot of people are like, how'd you find out about this? And just like, there's not a real good answer, because like 10 years ago, I wasn't really thinking about this. It's
Right.
just like you're working on something, and something's coming into your head subconsciously. And
Right.
it could also be a bit of luck and a bit of fate, because like we were building this before like the CBOEs released daily option expirations.
Right.
And
Wow.
so when that released, it was like we hit the jackpot because we were already working on it, and that
Wow.
just made things better. Like it finalized things for us.
Right. Wow. So definitely fate for sure. So now tell us, how's your journey shape your approach to educating others on trading and financial markets?
Well, I guess I've been training for a long time, so I feel like there's a lot of value there for other people, and I guess new people, because we always talk about, learning from other people's mistakes,
Right.
and just like making sure you get the good information. There's so much bad information out there. There's so much content. There's so many creators on YouTube. Like sometimes people might be really good at creating content, but they're terrible traders.
Right.
There's people that, like me, that's terrible with creating content, but it's like an amazing trader. So,
Right.
and
Got it.
I guess the trading I feel like it's still new in a sense where not a lot of people know what's going on or how to take advantage of it. And there's a lot of misconceptions with it. People still
Right.
think that you're staring at screens all day. They think it's a high percentage of what losing rate. They think it's gambling. They
Yeah.
think a lot of different things. And so uh, it's always difficult to convince people. But what I like to say is like everything's quantifiable. We can always look at the numbers, and numbers never lie.
Yeah. I mean, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, I know back in the old days it was thinking, New York Stock Exchange, everybody on the floor yelling. It's not like that anymore. And now with the technology, like you say, there's ways around all of that, the navigating it. And, like you say, numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
I Yeah, I love with you like how you have the community. So what role does community play in your business and how have your followers helped to shape its success?
Well, I I mean, the community is my business, and it's just, I mean, we're not spending that much effort to really, you know, grow grow it like that. But I feel like I mean, we have 1,000 plus people, and so sometimes it's really hard to kind of communicate with everybody.
Right.
But it's really nice to see that people that enroll into your program and spend like a few months sometimes outperform traders that have been trading for like 40 plus years.
Wow.
And so, I mean, the community is just like a monster on its own, and
Right.
it's growing without much of my time. Like, I don't really touch any of that stuff. The only thing I do is just keep up with the trade alerts and things like
Right.
that. And um, I- that's all I really had to say for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, you could definitely see it. I mean, even when you had your little anniversary celebration, I mean, people come from around the world for this. I mean, these are people who lean on each other. And it is true in any community that I've ever been in. It is true. The management, maybe they have their own things to deal with, but you're kind of talking to one another and they've gone through what you're going through, or you can help one another, and some places it kind of starts off great and then it just falls off. Your community is just constantly thriving. And I think it's because they're seeing the success and they're excited about it and they want to help one another because they might have been in a situation before where they were not understanding trading, or dealing the set it and forget it stocks and not making a lot. And now they're seeing the success, and I think it's just the excitement from it all. And I think it's great. You have a wonderful community going on. So now you have a lot going on. So how do you balance your personal values with the demands of trading industry and running a business?
How do I balance my personal values? What do you mean by that?
Well, basically, you have a lot going on in the trading world. So how do you, not so much the values, but like your family, your
My
home life,
work-life
any
balance?
extra, yeah.
Well, I don't spend a lot of time in my business. Like I feel like I I had a vision where I wanted to build something, wanted to build a business had that checked off everything in my list, which is
Right,
like something that's repeatable, something that's scalable, something that's changing people's lives, something that's quantifiable, and of course something that doesn't take a lot of time. And I don't think that, I don't have anything to balance. I can do whatever I want. Like
right,
I can go hang out with my family, like I
right,
can retire them, whatever. So um, I could send them wherever they want to go, like
right.
in the world. And I think that I have a pretty good
Yeah,
because work-life balance because work for me it's like I do it because it's fun for me and it's a
right.
sport
Yeah.
and I do it because I want to, not because I have to.
Yeah, you can't ask for anything more than that. And I mean, it's, and you're so young to have to be in that situation. So that again is, I think, something that most people will thrive for. Who could say you're 31? I mean, this just doesn't happen to people until they're like in their 60s. So I think it's amazing that you've done it. And again, it's that having that vision of, what else could I do? What's gonna, you had that 10-year out plan and you've obviously succeeded in it. So I think that's amazing. So tell us, regarding legacy and future vision, what kind of legacy do you want to leave in the financial world and beyond?
Well, I think I think we're already leaving a legacy and it shows in what people say
Yeah,
and it shows in I guess the results and what people show.
right,
So I just want I think a lot of people are struggling just on average and like
right,
obviously I have friends and like just old friends and things like that. And I kind of see like where they're going and what I guess struggles people are having. And I think that um, although not everybody might trade or whatever, because I mean, it's not for everybody, but I want to be able to build this community and this service in a way where it could be a vehicle for
right,
people to use or at least find in the future.
right. I
And
think you're
that's
doing a phenomenal job.
and the other reason why I created a community was because knowledge is an asset.
Yeah,
And so assets can be passed down to generations of generations. So by creating all this content and all this training, although it doesn't include everything, I think like I can pass it down to like my nieces or nephews or eventually when I have kids or whatever, like they can take it over and just kind of reap the benefit, right?
right. Yeah,
Because like even if you like it could work for anybody that's smart or not as you know educated or it
right,
just doesn't really matter who you are, what you are,
right.
as long as you have the knowledge to be able to use this as a vehicle.
Right. I think that's great. I mean, and obviously you have the community that is feeding off of this, which I think is, beautiful. And again, people, you'll always have the skeptic of saying, if it sounds too good to be true, like you say, I'm here. I'm not forcing you to do anything. You want to learn from me? Awesome. I'm happy to teach you. If not, that's okay too. But, it's those that take the chance, so I think it's great. So now tell us, what are you most passionate about bringing to the world through your work in Inside Options?
Well, I'm passionate about, I guess the same thing, just seeing like how it creates a positive impact on somebody's life,
Yeah.
like in a way where they have a bit more free time.
Right.
They might be visionaries like me, planning like 10 years ahead, trying to like retire, whatever they're trying to do,
Yeah.
or trying to get to a place where I'm at, and just kind of, I guess like that's really all it is, just making sure that people are like satisfied and happy, and just want to create a positive impact.
Right. Yeah, especially in today's day, they, like you say, a lot of people are struggling. They don't know AI in the world taking over jobs and companies, so it is uncertain times, actually scary times sometimes. So having, most people don't know what to do. They can't even think that far ahead because they have no clue is their job still going to be. So having the vision of saying, okay, you don't even have to, quit your job to do this. You can learn it on the side and have that as a backup plan for if things happen. So, again, it's just, I mean, it's funny, people are a little more skeptical. Obviously, the media's caught on to this. You're getting media hits left and right, which I think is amazing. So that says something. The fact that the media is saying, okay, this guy's somebody we should talk to because I think what he's doing, is just not normal. Not that it's not normal. It's just not something that everybody does. And what's going on? So people are starting to take notice of this. And, Captain Condor, I mean, that's actually pretty impressive. And I think people are slowly but surely starting to say, okay, maybe this guy's on to something. And the
Yeah,
fact that you have over 1,200 people, I think that's amazing.
there was a post I think I read, and there was just a post telling people to stop trading options because it, they're just gonna lose money, and that's true for like the majority of people that just don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think there was like comments below like, well, what about Captain Condor? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought that was funny.
yeah, it's with anybody, you go through a broker or whatnot. I mean, some people, I was doing trading back in the day and it's hard to predict the market. It's hard to predict, the certain companies that you're investing in or whatnot. But I like your strategy because you kind of have that nice cushion there. So it's almost I don't want to say no lose situation, but it's something that people aren't really normally privy to, which is what I love is that, like you said, most of this stuff is all institutional investor based, where your regular retail person really didn't even know about this stuff. So I think that's why people are skeptical because they don't really understand that there are other ways of trading options that are nothing is 100% foolproof, but it gives you a lot more cushion than, basic trading, I guess.
I think it's simple too, like just way more simple than it should be. Like we have a lot of people that just spend like a couple months and they're outperforming people that have been doing this for like years. And so I think that that kind of says a lot. And
It's just
yeah,
something that they don't normally know of unless they're taught and no one else is teaching it but you. So yeah, I think that's something that, people are starting to take notice and they're, appreciating it. So now tell us, looking ahead, what are your goals for the next 5, 10 years?
well, I don't really like to set goals like that. I mean, I do look at 10 years ahead, of course, and just kind of see like what I want to do, and just check all the boxes. And I feel like I've hit a lot of goals. The only goals I have left is just really just continue to do it as a sport. Like I do this as a sport. So like I just want to grow my fun and grow to my community to a good size where, like I can still manage it. Like once it gets too large, you can't really, it's really hard to
Yeah,
manage it. So
you just get help.
eventually get help. But yeah, kind of, I would eventually like to kind of move away from the community and then just focus on my fund and grow that. And just, I have all the numbers on paper. Like I'm just doing what I did like 10 years ago. And so like, I have something, except 10 years ago, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. Like, my vision was a bit blurry. And so that was what kind of concerned me because
Yeah.
I like looking 10 years ahead, and I like planning ahead and being able to see in my head
Right.
that like how what I'm gonna do to get there.
Right.
And back then it was difficult because I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do. And, but now it's a bit different. Like
Okay.
now there's like a lot less pressure, and I have a lot more time, and I have a lot more
Right.
freedom, and have a lot more flexibility. I have the numbers, and I know exactly what's gonna happen in 10
Right.
years from where I'm at.
Right. That's awesome. And again, something I'm sure many people aspire for. So that tells you if you can give one piece of advice to someone who's just starting out their life in life or in trading, what would it be?
In life or in trading.
Yeah, just one
Well,
piece of advice.
I think I've said this already, but you have to do what others don't in order to make what others won't.
Right.
So that's
Nice.
that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest things that stuck with me.
Nice. Now tell us into personal insight. What personal values or philosophies do you hold closest to you?
Like philosophies, values, I guess everybody's going to be different. And so values and philosophies, you you either inherit them or you acquire them. So
Yeah.
you could be inheriting like different values from your family or
Mm.
your like different cultures and that, and you might not like it. Maybe you might do like it.
Mm.
That's kind of for you to assess. But if you aren't aware of it, there's nothing for you to really change.
Right.
The first thing is really just being aware of like what kind of values and philosophies that you need to shape in order to get to where you need to go.
Right.
Like if you wanted to do trading, if you wanted to like travel or whatever, like it kind of goes like you want. Like if you want to travel, then you need a career where you're not spending like 18 hours like in a
Right.
surgery room
Yeah.
doing brain surgery or whatever. But it's just planning in advance, really.
Right.
Just have the ability to plan in advance, or make good friends that you can leverage.
Yeah.
Don't burn
That'll work too.
and don't burn bridges. Like
Yeah.
because I mean, for me, like I'm not great at everything, but
Right.
I think what I'm really good at is I also a master delegator.
Right.
I know like who's really good at some things and what I'm not good at and what I'm good at. So
Right. No, that's actually really smart because I know so many people, they are like control freaks. They don't want to give up anything. Meanwhile, put your time and energy into what you're good at and let somebody else handle the other stuff that they're good at. So I agree with that 100%. And it's something a lot of people need to learn. So tell us, how do you handle setbacks and challenges, both in trading and in life?
how do I what?
How do you handle challenges in trading and in life? Or how do
Um,
you handle setbacks? Put it that way.
I mean, there's nothing really you can do. I mean, setbacks within if you're doing something, you know you're doing something right. And if there's a setback, you also understand that setbacks might be just part of the system, part of
Yeah.
the strategy. Even
Yeah.
for our strategy that we trade, like we don't have like 100% win rate. It's
Mm.
just part of the process. So,
Yeah. So have realistic expectations.
yeah,
Yeah.
just have expectations and just understand that, challenges happen and just kind of plan in advance and kind of understand that it's a process.
Yeah. Yeah. So many people, they go like ballistic if something doesn't go the way they anticipate. And you just have to take a deep breath and realize that it's just part of the process. So a lesson
Figure
a
out
lot
what
of
went
people don't
wrong and
know.
fix it. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So now tell us, outside of trading, what do you like to do for personal fulfillment or relaxation?
Well, let's see. I I picked up a new hobby. I've been going to the gym because I'm trying to lose weight. So
Nice. Hey, it's not a bad thing. Get healthy and live longer.
yeah. I really like traveling too, but sometimes I get homesick. So I don't like to
So
travel
just don't go
too
too
much.
far.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um, and I really like uh, I guess because I'm an introvert, I don't really talk to a lot of people, but whenever I do talk to people, it feels good in a sense where people are like, well, this is kind of like where I am, this is where I'm growing. And I just like enjoying helping people like that. So
Right. Yeah, it's amazing because, I know a lot of people are introverts. They don't want to talk about feelings and whatnot, but it's amazing how many people are similar. And just knowing that, you're like me and then they're inspired by you and thinking, okay, well, if he did it, I could do it too. And, helping people along the way. I mean, that's something that's like such a legacy. Like I love helping people too. And, if everybody always says, like, what do you know about Patty? She was always there for me. She always offered advice. Not that I could follow it, but, it's people understand that, how many people in your group could probably say at this point, wow, I was at rock bottom and look where I'm at today. And I owe it all to David Chau. I mean, that's actually really inspiring. And I think that's great that you want to help people because in your position, you don't have to. You could turn around and say, this is mine, adios. And you want to help people and give back. And I think they appreciate that.
Yeah, because I remember like there's been times in my life where like I think it was I think I reached out to like some people that I looked up to and just like kind of asked for mentorships and things like that, and uh, they just said no. So
Yeah.
and that wasn't just one person too, so that was kind of defeating, right?
Yeah.
So and so whenever somebody comes up to me, like I always relive that moment.
Right.
I don't want to say like no to somebody
Mhm.
because I see myself in them
Mhm.
10 years ago or whatever.
That is so nice. But that is something that's like amazing. And a lot of people can learn from that because it is true. So many people in this world is like every man for himself, especially if they're succeeding. They don't want to tell you what they're doing because they don't want you to bypass them. In your community, it's like we'll all get there together. I just the more the merrier, and I think that's they learn from you, and that's why they want to help each other too, because they're not saying, well, I know the secret, I'm not telling you. They all want to grow together, which is they're getting that from you. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
we're not, and that's one thing about trading is because I mean, that's one good thing about trading is that we're not competing with each other.
Right.
Like we all have incentive to do better together.
Right. That's beautiful. Now tell us who or what continues to inspire you today, both professionally and personally?
That's a hard question because I don't really have an answer. I don't spend my time really looking at really who inspires me anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
Just all I do is just I have a goal and that's what I'm doing, and I should just kind of inspire myself to, I guess. So
There's nothing
I,
wrong
I
with
mean I
that.
inspire myself. So
Nothing wrong with that. And you set your goals even higher. If you reach this point, now you realize you want to reach that one and the next one. So that's good. Now, so tell us now, if you could change one thing about the financial industry, what would it be and why?
I I think that it should just be more accessible to the world
Right.
in a sense where there's a lot of countries that just don't have access to this. And for example, like I have team members that are based in the Philippines.
Mhm.
And if they were to, and their living cost is like extremely low, right? So if they were to, magically start, trading with $26,000 or whatever it is,
Right.
that would supplement like their lifestyle for like a lifetime,
Wow.
so and actually I think there are some accounts now opening, so it's actually expanding now.
Wow.
So she was actually able to open up an account, and uh the whatever she's making from trading, it's doing what we both kind of expected,
Wow.
but I
It's
mean it's always
changing
going
their
to be
life.
difficult.
Yeah.
I mean it's always going to be difficult, or at least different in the United States, right? Because
Right.
I mean the value here is it's everything is more expensive, but
Right.
but what it can do for other people in like different countries where the living cost is lower, it would
Right.
I think it's going to change a lot of lives. And I think uh, especially like there's definitely a lot of like charities that are trying to solve world hunger, or
Right.
trying to solve like different things, and there's no like economic like incentive really to do that,
Right.
in a sense where we have this vehicle like, hey, we have this thing that we could teach you to do, and maybe could eventually become self-sufficient.
Right.
So I think there's just different ways to tackle different issues.
Right. And even being international, like you said, it's not like, if there's different time zones that they have to spend 8 hours on the computer, it doesn't require that. So anybody around the world can participate in this.
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of like philosophy and like stuff like that, I like doing charity work, but in a sense where it's there's, I mean, I like doing charity work where it's gonna create a long-term effect.
Right.
Like if I were to, magically give somebody enough capital to trade or something like that, that would help them, create some
Yeah.
long-term like sustainable income or something like
Right.
that. So
But that's the giving back, which I mean is just amazing, because how many people, you know, in a position to be able to help actually do that? You know, everybody, you know, it's all about themselves. So I think that's like really amazing. It shows your character about how you want to help, you want to give back. Because again, you don't have to tell anybody anything. You're making your money and that's fine. But instead you're teaching others how to do the same, to try to better their lives and whatnot. So, you know, I think that's inspirational again. And I think people see that, and that's why they want to be included in this and be in the community and help one another, because they're learning all that from you.
Yeah, I think it's really important about the vehicles too. Like,
Yeah.
because with the stock market, we're not competing with each other. So
Right.
it doesn't hurt me to help somebody else, right?
Right. That's awesome.
It'd be different with a different business though. Like, because if you were to do like a different business and you were to teach somebody, it could saturate the market, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
Yeah. And again, most average people wouldn't even understand any of this. So, you know, you teaching them how all this works, the fundamentals, what's beyond it, you know, it's a big eye opener for a lot of people, you know.
At the end of the day, it's just a vehicle, and
Yeah.
you can choose whether or not which vehicles you want.
Right. Nice. Well, David, thank you so much for being so open and honest today. It's been incredibly getting a glimpse behind the charts and strategies to learn more about the real people behind the success of Inside Options and the Captain Condor name. But now tell me, your journey from humble beginnings to becoming a respected leader in options trading isn't just about trading. It's about resilience, purpose, and helping others rise with you. So what makes your story so compelling and inspiring? That's pretty much what it is. So to everybody listening, whether you're a trader, entrepreneur, or someone navigating your own personal challenge, David's story is proof that structure, discipline, and passion can change the course of your life. So David, anything else you want to cover that we didn't already talk about?
I think we've covered everything. You want to trade
Awesome.
and you want to pursue and you're looking for a vehicle and you're looking for something to do or try, then just visit InsideOptions.io.
Awesome. I was just going to say that if you'd like to learn more about David's work or join the Inside Options community, just visit InsideOptions.io. So thank you again, David. I'm so glad that we had this real conversation.
Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.